Hi everyone, I'm Karen Robinson from littlepaperparty.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and today I have the 9th project in my 12 Weeks of Halloween series to share with you, which is going to be just this little cellophane bag. So let's get started. So what the bags I'm using for this are in the annual catalogue. Stampin' Up! Actually sells a few different types of ready-made packaging, and there are some in the current mini catalogue as well as in the annual catalogue to choose from. But the ones I'm using are in the annual catalogue, and they are the printed gusseted cellophane bags. So they're quite big. They are 3 by 6, which is actually really big. Which is great if you have something tall to put in there, or you want to fill it up with a lot of stuff. But I'm thinking these would make a great kind of classroom gift, I want to make these in bulk. So I don't want to fill these up because that would cost way too much money. So I was thinking, well, I can just cut a little bit off, and then I was thinking, and then I ended up, I'm just going to cut it in half, and I will have 2 bags then. So I'm going to make 2. So I just folded it over, grabbed a big pair of scissors and cut it in half. And now I have 2 little bags. Well, I will have 2 little bags. So obviously one of them has the bottom, and that's already sealed and it's ready to go. However, I want to decorate it. But the other one needs sealing. Now there are tools out there that you may have in your stash. I think We Are Memory Keepers makes a fuse tool that are perfect for sealing up kind of plastic and that kind of stuff. I don't have anything like that. So I had to come up with something a little bit different to seal up the bottom of mine, but this is easy and anyone can do it, so you don't need a special tool. So before we do that, I'll just tell you what I've used for this, and then I'll just show you a bit of a cutting guide so that you can maximize your DSP, your paper, so that you can make 2 bags, so 2 tops and 2 bottoms, just out of one 6 by 6 piece. So the paper I'm using is the Plaid Tidings DSP, as usual. So it is a 6 by 6 paper pack, and to cut it so that you can make 2 toppers and 2 bottoms out of one 6 by 6 piece is, first of all, I cut it at 4 inches, so here, and then I cut the 4-inch piece at 3 inches, so I've got 2 pieces for my toppers. And then with this leftover piece, this leftover 2 inches, I cut off 3/4 of an inch, and that will make 2 bottoms. So, and then you have a piece left over. You have a 1 1/4. This should be a 1/4 piece, which I will definitely put in my scraps and I will use for something else. But also it's good, so if you do make like a bit of mistake on the bottom, so you can just get 2 bottoms out of this. But if you, depending on how you want to put it together, you could also, you've got like a spare, so if you need to use that up to make another bottom. So that is how I cut it. So you can make, so from one bag you can make 2 small bags, and then from one piece of 6 by 6 you can make both the topper and the bottom. So yeah, that's really making your materials go a lot further, and I love that. So I'll move that out of the way, just put this out of the way too. Whoops, pop this. I'm not sure how shiny and reflective this is going to be, probably very. So I am going to grab the Simply Scored, and then I'm going to take my little 3/4 of an inch piece and pop it in there. You could do this on your trimmer if you wanted to, or you could just fold it in half. I just like putting the score line in because it just means I get a nice even fold and I don't have to worry about getting wrinkles and stuff. So I'm going to pop it in there, and I'm going to score it at 3/8 of an inch, so just down the center. Oops, I'm going to maybe even hold it in place, which probably would help. And that's it. So it just gives me the fold exactly in the center, and it means I don't have to worry about getting it wrong. Grab my bone folder, and I'm just going to burnish that. So I debated on how I should attach this, and I did try a couple of things, but what I ended up with is I'm going to use some score tape. Now you can either like put the whole thing on and then trim it, or you can trim it first. And I just might trim it first, I think. I'm just going to pop it on the bottom, whichever bit I choose to be the bottom. Doesn't really matter. Oop. Roughly hold it in place. Grab my snips and trim it off. And so the piece that I've just trimmed off should fit on another bag, which is how you can get to. So I'm going to add a little bit of tear and tape on one side, just one side. You can do it on two sides, and that's what I originally did, but I felt it needed something a little bit more than the tear and tape. It's a strong adhesive, but just being on plastic and then with a weight kind of pushing on it, you know, it can come away. It's great for paper to paper. So I've come back and reinforced it, so I don't really need to add a second piece of tear and tape. Then I'm just going to pop my bag in. So I'm putting it on the non-sticky side into the center, because that way I can move it around if I need to. And I'm just going to fold over this piece down the bottom. Give it a nice press. And then what I did, so this isn't attached at all, is I just came in and I just added a couple of staples. So this is a retired stapler that Stampin' Up! Used to sell, but any stapler will do. So I know that that doesn't really look super pretty, but I don't think it matters. And it does add a little bit of pop of color. The staples aren't really noticeable, and once you have them all, if you have them sitting up in a bowl, you're not even going to notice the bottoms anyway. But it's quick and easy and secure, and that's what I want. And then with the other half, I'm actually going to cover the other bag. So even though this is fully sealed, I have this piece, it's all ready to go, and I'm just going to cover it, and that just makes all my bags are going to kind of be uniform. They're both going to have that little pop of color and pattern top and bottom. But we'll pop that aside for the moment. So my bag's now ready to go, all sealed up down the bottom. So to do the top, I used them as actual kind of labels. These, Celebration Labels dies. I've got offcuts in there. Celebration label dies that are in the current mini catalogue. And I used the second smallest and the smallest dies to layer on top of each other to create just a really quick, easy, simple topper for my card. So I've already die cut the piece I'm going to use as the backing, and I've stamped and die cut the piece I'm using for my sentiment, which is going to layer on there. And I've used the Have a Hoot stamp set, and I'm using this little guy with the pumpkin. Oops, I should maybe move that in when you can see it. And the Have a Hoot sentiment. And I stamped, colored, and die cut my little guy with the coordinating Picahoot dies, so you don't have to see me colouring him in. Quickly for the colouring, I used for my owl the cinnamon cider, just for the top of the pumpkin stem, dark soft suede. For the inside here, the mango melody combo, pumpkin pie combo for the pumpkin, which makes sense, and then just for his eyes, the light grey granite with a little bit of the colour lifter. It just adds just a pop of color, just a hint of color, and I really like it for eyes rather than them just being plain white. And I'm just once again throwing my things around. This is the second time I have dropped the marker on the floor, but we're not going to worry about it. So I cut this out, and then I also cut out another piece out of basic black cardstock to put behind, because when you color with your alcohol markers, it seeps through your cardstock, which is fine. That's just how they work, and it's not a problem. But where I've decided to position my little guy, I can actually see that from the back. And yeah, I'm not going to want to see that through the back of my cellophane bag. I don't think it looks very nice. It doesn't matter. You don't need to do this, but I liked it. And yeah, so I'm just going to very quickly glue these two pieces together with a bit of Tombow, and that way it's got a nice neat back, and it'll look nice from the reverse as well. You don't have to do this, it's totally optional, but I like it. So yeah, so now it's nice and neat on the back. You could also use white. I just thought Halloweeny, so I'm just using black. Okay, I'll pop that aside to dry. and then we're going to bring these back in. So I stamped this and then I die cut it so I could get it in the position I wanted to. But if I was going to go and make these in bulk, which I am thinking of doing, I probably would set up my Stamparatus and stamp one, or whatever stamp positioning tool you might have, and then stamp one, die cut it out, and then I would just die cut a whole stack of them and then pop them back into the negative from my die cut, and then just continually stamping them, and then they're going to be perfectly positioned. But, or you can just, yes, stamp them individually and die cut them. So I want to fold these in half. Now you can definitely just fold them, but once again, I don't like doing that, and I like to have a nice crisp crease. So I'm going to grab my Simply Scored again, and I'm just going to pop them on here, and it doesn't matter where you put them. So, but basically I just want to line up these little notches, and I do like, one thing I really like about this die set is that it has these little notches, the center notches, so you can easily fold it this way, or you know, this way, depending on what you're adding it to, and I really like that. So I'm doing this landscape, so I'm just going to put my notch, pick one of the grooves, it doesn't really matter, kind of make sure that it is straight, and then I'm just going to score down the middle, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing for my sentiment. So I'm just choosing the 3 inches, it doesn't matter where you put it, and I'm just double checking that both notches are on the same groove, and then I'm just going to score down the middle. And that's all we need to Simply Score. You don't need to use the Simply Score for this. You could use your trimmer if it has you know, a scoring blade, or you know, a little groove that you could do that on, or you could you can just fold it in half. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just like the nice crisp fold that I get, and I know it's folded perfectly, and I don't end up with any wrinkles at the top. So to bring back our bag, so in this one I put a little bit of candy corn, and this one I found these the other day at Coles in Australia. So little Skittles, and I thought rotten zombie Skittles, I had to get them. So I'm just going to pop those into my bag. So for the top of my bag, the main part, I'm going to pop my topper on, center it as best I can, and I'm just using a staple to keep it in place so it's nice and secure. And then I'm going to cover that up so you won't see that with my sentiment. So I'm bringing back the tear and tape and adding a little bit to my topper. I mean, my sentiment topper, sentiment layer. There we go. So I'm just going to remove one side. You could do 2, but I just like to do it this way. And I'm going to pop on, so I'm not sticking down the back yet. So I'm just going to put the front on, which is what I'm going to see. I'm lining it up. I mean, it does help because once again, I've got these little center marks. So I'm lining it up, and then when I'm happy, I'm just going to press that down. And then I can just remove the tear and tape from the other side and press the front down. So in this case, my staples are covered, and that looks much nicer. So we'll bring back our little owl. So he is all ready to go, and I just realized I've used, I'm not sure if you can see, I hope you can, I've used Wink of Stella to add a little bit of something to the pumpkin. I'm just having a quick look in my caddy over here. Found it. So this is the clear Wink of Stella, and it looks like I just went over everything, the pumpkin, not the face, just the pumpkin, to add a little bit of sparkle. I've been addicted to clear Wink of Stella lately. I've been using it on everything. It's funny how you go through, well, I don't know, I go through phases where you use a product all the time, and then, I don't know, I guess you've gotten sick of it, and then you don't use it, and then it's kind of, oh yes, I'm going to use this again. So at the moment, I'm into the sparkle. And let's see, I didn't use it on the stem, just the pumpkin. I'm just going to grab a scrap of cardstock and just, yeah. So if I picked up any ink, I'm just going to run it on a piece of scrap, and that'll clean it so I don't transfer it to something else. And then to pop him on, I just used a couple of mini black dimensionals. So I actually have him hanging over the edge a little bit. So I only want the dimensionals towards the top of my image. And I kind of liked it because he was like jumping out from behind the pumpkin, and he's, you know, kind of got his wing up, and he's saying his greeting. So I'm just going to put a couple at the top, towards the top. Put that away. Remove the backing. And put him on a little bit of an angle and stick him onto the front of my bag. And then this is ready to go. So that's my project for today. It is really quick, really simple. Yeah, definitely a way to make your supplies go a bit further. And what I like is, because I've cut this bag in half, you normally get 25 in a packet of these, but that means I can get 50 bags out of this, and that is more than enough for a class. Or yes, so that definitely makes it go a long way, and I was really pleased about that. I mean, and these are just a couple of examples of things you can pop in. Obviously, you can put anything in. These are also a food safe bag, so you could put loose unwrapped things in there as well if you would like. Well, that is everything from me today. Yeah, hope you like this project, and I will see you next week. Bye.